Thank you. I think the last time I presented, that okay? Yeah. The last time I presented, I was representing the Lawrence Association of Neighborhoods. So it's quite a journey. Let me give you a little background of why I'm here today. When the calendar was being put together for presentations this year, last December, I had just been hired as the interim director. I was hired December 2nd. And I didn't know what to say for a March presentation. So I said, what's going on at headquarters? Because I didn't know what was going on then. So I'm going to give you an update. I'm halfway through my 6-month commitment. I told the board of directors I would serve as interim director until June 1. We are progressing very nicely toward interviewing applicants for my position. So hopefully by June 1, I'll be out of here. I thought the easiest way to explain what's going on is to tell you my story. For 30 years, I worked for the Teachers Union, the Kansas National Education Association, as an organizer. I quit in 2011 and immediately joined headquarters as a volunteer counselor. And I thoroughly enjoy, I was trained. I'm also trained in applied suicide intervention skills training, which is a 2-day workshop. I was sent to New York City for training to be a trainer. I did a training last weekend for our spring 14 class. It's 2 days of very intense training, but it's the best in the country. It's research-based, best practices. It's exciting stuff. So anyway, I became a volunteer, and volunteer counselors, those of you who don't know about headquarters, let me just give you a little background. It was actually founded by KU students in 1969. It was called headquarters because those of you who are as old as I am remember that heads were drug users. That's what you called drug users in the 60s. You were called a head. And headquarters was a crash pad for people having bad trips. And it was on Massachusetts Street, and probably people in the room know more about headquarters past. Since I only came to Lawrence in '81, you probably know more about the past than I do. It became a part of the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline in 1995. There are 150 call centers around the country. Headquarters is the call center for all Kansas area code telephones. So anyone who calls the National Suicide Prevention Lifeline with a Kansas area code, it comes to Lawrence, Kansas, and we talk to them. Which is kind of interesting because I've been a counselor for 2.5 years now, and sometimes I'll get a call from someone in Austin, Texas, or Portland, Oregon, and the caller ID is 913. Well, they're former KU students. They're all over the country, and they still have their phones. Or they've put the local number, the 785-841-2345, in their phones, and it'll be a local call, and well, I'm in Maine. Oh, okay. Because if we have to provide resources, we have to know where people are, so we can say, well, the mental health center in Bangor is on 5th Street or something like that. So anyway, it was founded in 1969, gone through a lot of changes. We are a full-service crisis center, which means in addition to dealing with suicide, we deal with substance abuse issues, domestic abuse issues, all kinds of things. We take all callers and we try to connect them with resources. And our counseling training used to be 11 weeks long. Now it's down to 8 weeks, and we're modernizing it using podcasts and other devices. Lots of hands-on role-playing simulations. The trainees also have observation shifts before they're allowed to take calls on the phones. It's a very, very extensive, thorough training program. And then once we're on the phones, our folks should be prepared to handle just about anything. We also deal with walk-ins, although they're not as frequent as they used to be. But if people walk in, fine, we go into the quiet room and we help them, assist them with their problem. So basically that's what headquarters does. Now, let's go back to last December. I'm happily doing shifts when I was called into the office by a couple of the staff people and was informed that the previous director was going to be relieved, and they needed someone with my experience from my union work to draft an interim director's job description. So I met with the folks and I came up with, well, here are some of the things that we should be doing and so on and so forth, and came up with a job description. And then the day before the board meeting, they asked me to come and present and explain the interim director's position. So as I'm presenting all of the characteristics that they should have in a director, the board is shaking their head saying, you know, how can we find someone like this? How can we afford this? And someone in the room said, I'll do it. It was me. And that was that abrupt. Because after I had helped draft the interim directorship, I went home and I told my wife, I said, they're looking for an interim director to help the transition so they can hire a permanent director later on. And she said, why don't you do it? You're lazy, you've got time on your hands. More importantly, you've got the skill to do it. You're an organizer. No, I'm not going to do it, I'm not going to do it. But when I met the board and I saw how intense they were and how committed they were to the headquarters mission and how traumatized they were, and I have to be, I'm not exaggerating when I say November, December, January was a traumatic time for the staff and the professions.
Well, why was the board traumatized when they're...
I'll take questions at the end if you don't mind.
Fired, Mark.
I'll take questions at the end, okay?
Okay.
Thank you. So when I met with the board, I decided to accept the position of interim director, and they hired me, and I told them for 6 months it would be June 1 would be my last day. So when I went to the office, I found that not only was the morale low at headquarters, but our financial situation was much more serious than I would have known as a counselor. I mean, I was just working the phones. So I spent the first month putting out a lot of fires and answering a lot of calls. We had bills that were due. We had our insurance had lapsed. We had a penalty for the IRS. A lot of those things had to be put in place. We also had to rearrange our office procedures. We literally cleaned out the office so that the carpet cleaners could come in, and then we rearranged the furniture and arranged the place a lot more functional. I also found it extremely difficult to find files. Things weren't filed in an orderly manner. You didn't go under I in the file cabinet to find insurance. So I had to rely on our CPA, our bookkeeper, our attorney, and others to access the material. So the first month or two was putting out fires and kind of reorganizing and getting things in shape. Subsequently, on January 11th, we had a retreat. It was the first time headquarters had a retreat for board, staff, and volunteers. It was held at LMH in the auditorium. Facilitated, it was a wonderful experience. The outcome, we came out with 4 outcomes. 3 of the 4 outcomes were eventually rolled into a strategic plan, which the organization doesn't have. Now we have. And the retreat was more importantly, it was for team building. There were a lot of silos. The staff didn't talk to the board, the volunteers, and so forth. We integrated the board, the staff, and the volunteers so that they could all talk to each other and put a face with a name. We've also expanded the board. When I met with the board in December, most of them said they were going to quit by December 31st. I think there were 7 board members. When they hired me, they said they would stay until the transition period was over. They are still on the board. We've subsequently added 4 folks who bring a great deal of talent to the board. And we're looking for maybe 1 or 2 more, around a dozen people. But what's mostly important is, with my work with the board, is their attitude has changed from looking at the past toward looking toward the future. And if there's one message I wanted to have today, it's that, number 1, my role was to flatten the organization, which I'm proud to say we've done. I flattened the organization, delegated things, and we are looking forward. And let me tell you what some of the things we're doing that make me feel more optimistic.
What do you mean by flattening?
The organization was hierarchical before, where, in fact, it was almost autonomous. It was run by one person. And what I've done is I've come in and delegated everything. I'm a facilitator, I'm not the boss. And I made this clear to the board that the permanent director that they hire should be much more of a manager than I am. I never said I was a manager, I said I'm an organizer, and that's what I do. And part of an organizer's job is to empower the people to do the work. And one of the assets that I found at headquarters that absolutely amazed me is the incredible human power, human potential, the human capital that we have. I haven't done much, I've just unleashed the capital. And I'll give you an example, some examples of how we've unleashed this human capital. We have 5 task forces working right now. We have one that has completely revised our new training, modernized it, as I said earlier, using podcasts, using video, making it more interactive, more modern. The second is the ongoing training, where we assess what we're doing. One of the problems that I found at headquarters was there was no feedback loop, no assessment. And I've been hammering the board and hammering the staff, we've got to assess everything we do. And there was just no review. So we're constantly reviewing what we're doing. We recently had an in-service for our staff dealing with our regular callers and how we're going to deal with them. And we asked for their feedback, and now we've got some protocols that are going to make us more efficient, open the lines up for real crisis calls rather than talking to folks who just want to talk. That's one example of doing the ongoing training. We have a morale building committee because this is a stressful business we're in. We take care of each other. We're a family, so we have a chicken contest, we have barbecues, we have watch parties to bring our folks together so that we can talk and help each other. We have a community outreach committee. I had a meeting last night. We met with the community outreach committee where we're trying to engage more community activities. And I'm going to talk more about that when I talk about KU and the community in a couple of minutes. And then we have a fundraising committee that's dealing with fundraising. They send the letters out. They're going to do other activities. But let me talk a little, and I'll end with that right here. So we've got 5 work teams that our volunteers have just been wonderful, wonderful. This is, as I said, I'm a professional organizer, and it's always hard to motivate folks to follow through. But every one of these work teams, when people say they're going to do it, they come back and they report back they've done it. It's truly wonderful to work with these folks. So let's talk a little bit about fundraising. The bad news is headquarters is still broke. We've got enough money to hire an executive director. We've got money budgeted for a salary. But financially, in January of 2000, a year ago, we had a budget of around $240,000. Our budget now is allegedly $120,000, but it's grossly underfunded. We lost funding from the United Way, we lost funding from the University Student Senate. There was no steady funding stream. So I've met with United Way, I've met with Douglas County Foundation, and my attitude, and this is just me personally, that I've said to the board and I've said to our staff, is I think grants are a waste of time. I think we should go looking for a steady stream of funding. And subsequently, I've had amazing luck. I appeared before the Student Senate 4 times in the last 2 months. The first time to get headquarters back into the student safety recommended organizations. The student safety group recommends a portion of student fees go to social service agencies that assist students. They had Willow and Godegee that they've been funding for the last couple of years. I think headquarters was funded once upon a time, but we haven't been. So the first couple of meetings, we had to persuade the subcommittee to allow headquarters to appear before the Student Senate to ask for funding. We did that, and we got approval to appear before the Senate. And I made 4 presentations over the course of a month. And originally, we persuaded them that we wanted the $15,000 that went to CAPS because we provide better service for students, and our service is anonymous. If you call CAPS, you have to give your student ID and your name, and the student senators like the idea that they could talk to us about anything and not worry about it going on anybody's record. Well, we got that $15,000, and then came back again, and they said, well, you know, we can probably provide more money. What would you use it for? And I said, well, you know, if we had about 40 grand, we could probably do overnights. So the students who were representing us before the Student Senate were absolutely incredible. So we went before the Student Senate and we asked for $40,000, and we got a 62-0 vote to support it.
Wow.
And so after that, we had to go to another committee, and I guess it's a finance committee. It met a week ago last Saturday in Alderson. And this is the one, they said, this is going to be the rough one, Steve. So they prepped me with all the questions and get your presentation down just right. And we went in there, and without a single question, they voted to give us $45,000. So this is going to come out of student fees. It's $1.60. And one of the arguments they gave was that, of course, the athletic department gets $20 out of that fee, and even SUA gets $4 out of that fee. So it's really not much money for the service that was provided. So we're very happy. But I want to talk some more about KU, because we've neglected KU. Headquarters apparently has neglected KU over the years, and this is the biggest asset we've got. And it's kind of foolish not to access this. So some of the things that we've done to access it, first of all, I immediately started advertising in the UDK again. I don't know why that was stopped, but it was stopped. We have an ad every Thursday, and if you look at the March Madness bracket thing, we're right on the bracket page. So we're advertising in the UDK because we want to get more students engaged. In addition, I attended Matchmakers. Yeah, are you familiar with Matchmakers? It was on Valentine's Day. It's matching student undergraduate research with not-for-profit groups in the community. And we have a wonderful match with a journalism school professor. There's a program in social marketing. Yvonne Chen teaches the class. And so we have partnered with them, and I met with them a couple of months ago for a client interview. There were 60 students in the class. They're divided into 15 teams, and they, this week, I think, or after the break, we're going to look at the marketing proposals that they've come up on behalf of headquarters, which I think is a terrific. It's good for us, it's good for them, and I love working with students anyway. So this has just been a terrific opportunity. So we're getting more engaged with the university. This is only a couple of months, but we've already got several activities. Also, part of my job has been community outreach. I've met with United Way and Douglas County Foundation and the Chamber. One of the things I recommended is that we I don't know if we've ever been a member of the Chamber of Commerce, but it's very reasonable to be a not-for-profit, and the opportunities for networking is tremendous. So $279, we're involved with the Chamber. I met with Hugh Carter last Friday. That's my second meeting with him, and Hugh is going to help us find a real business partner. I don't want to sound snarky. I don't want a supermarket. I want a bank. I want somebody with deep pockets. So we're going for the gold on that. We're going to see what we can do. And also, as a former city commission member, Hugh has agreed to work with us to lobby the city for some possible funding. We do get alcohol and tobacco money. It's not much. I think it's about $10,000, and it's going down, which is good, I guess, because fewer people are drinking, fewer people are smoking. But he feels that there's an opportunity for other funding. And the best news of all is I met with Craig Weinog. I met with Dave Corliss, but I think we'll have better luck with the individual city commissioners there. But I met with Craig Weinog, and he was very supportive of us submitting a proposal which we will be putting together on March 24th. Pardon? I'm sorry, yes, he's the county administrator for the Douglas County Commission. We have already talked to Nancy and Mike, two of the commissioners, and they encouraged us to apply for funding. Apparently the counties have quite a bit of mental health money from the state, but also this could possibly go as a small percentage of the mill levy. So we're not really competing with anyone else. We're trying to get money ourselves. So we're going to put together a substantial proposal on the 24th. This is one of the reasons why we had our strategic planning meeting 2 weeks ago. We need a strategic plan in order to get into the budgeting process for the county. So we are going to submit a proposal for sustained funding from the Douglas County Commission. And hopefully we'll do the same thing with the Lawrence City Commission. My goal is to get a base funding that's more reliable than fundraisers and the generosity of the community. And don't get me wrong, if anyone in here tonight wants to write a check, I'll be happy to take it. We are still, well, let me explain to you how financially stretched we are. In January of 2013, we had 4 full-time staff. We have no full-time staff. We have no full-time paid staff, excuse me. We have part-time staff, and they're paid hourly. So we're keeping the lights on, and we're keeping services up, and our volunteers are doing a wonderful job. But we are living hand to mouth at the moment. But I'm hoping next year at this time we'll have a sustainable flow of cash that we can count on to pay for, I'd like to see 4 full-time staff and 1 half-time administrative assistant.
Do you have overtime calls down?
Pardon?
Do you have overnight calls down?
We do not have overnight calls, and that's the first piece of bad news is we're still broke. The second piece of bad news is we're still not doing the overnights, and let me talk about that. That is personally upsetting to me, because I used to be one of the overnight counselors. I was a regular on the overnights, and we suspended them in November. If any of you will write me a check for $40,000, we'll start it tomorrow. Because that's about what it would take for a year to pay for overnight folks. Anyway, I would like to see us get back on overnight, but as I've told my board, I don't want to do overnights for 6 months and then say we can't do it, we got to suspend it again. When we come back, I want to come back full bore and have that covered. And also, we are very thin on the number of volunteers who can do this. We've got a class of 15 that will graduate in a few months, and when they get on the phones, then we'll be better equipped to have the personnel. But our plan right now is to pay a stipend to the overnight folks and have them on a permanent schedule to do that. One of the things that we had a year ago is the full-time employees at headquarters would take 1 or 2 overnights themselves. And I was an overnighter, and then there were a couple of other volunteers who could do it. It's very difficult to get people to take overnights during the week and then expect them to go to work or class the next day. Those of us who are retired can nap until noon and get away with it. So that's very problematic. And as an experienced counselor, it's personally upsetting because I know there are people who are calling and we're not there. Our NSPL calls are rolled over to St. Louis, to the St. Louis call.